Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Over and Under. On today, we have the one and only Abhyona Grant. Woo woo! Let me tell y'all, this is my friend, my sister. Abhyona is, baby, a powerhouse. Listen, all things Jesus, because we don't play about God around here. She is all things, skincare, makeup, baby. My Hue Beauty is who y'all need to be following. That's all I'm gonna say. Baby, whew, her beauty empire, what I call it, because that's exactly what it is baby about to be shifting nations. That's all I'm saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce and let Abhyona go ahead and give a couple words before we jump into it. So, hey Abhyona.
Hey girl, come on, Beauty Empire. I'm excited. I am so excited about this and everything that you're doing. I can't wait to get into it and hear what you're gonna ask and just be Abiona and Jairus.
100%, because that's all we know how to do. We can't be nobody else. There's no need. Mm-mm. All right, so let's get into it. So the first question is: before people knew your name, what season were you building in that no one saw?
Ooh, before they knew my name, I would say I was building in a wilderness. For a long time, and when I say a long time, y'all, it was like 6.5 years. I was quietly leaning into the Lord more. I lived in Jacksonville, and I believe what he had me building is what people would see today, right? He was building a nature in me, building a character, but it was very much a wilderness season. And I'll never forget when I got to Jacksonville in 2014, fresh out of grad school, the Lord was like, this is not it, it's just a stop. And I'm like, okay, cool, until 3 months later, all the things started happening. I was like, hold on, get me out of here because you said
Mm-hmm.
this is just a stop. Like, where do I exit? And for 6.5 years, I literally felt like the Israelites because it was one thing after another, but it was all to build character and to build who the Lord was calling me to be today. So I would say, like, I was building, maybe clarify, in a wilderness, this version of me that would then encourage others to build what the Lord is calling them to build.
Whew. So, this is another question in reference to, like that season, that the Lord brought you through in reference to the wilderness. How did you navigate? Because I think a lot of times when people hear wilderness, like everybody freaks out because they're like, oh my God, it's just like the worst. It's just doom and gloom every day, every second. When in reality, it's really God pruning us. And even when you hear the word pruning, people are afraid to hear that. So how did you navigate that season as well? Because yeah, some of the saints, some of us have been mm, yeah, just all which ways, here, there, everywhere. So like yeah, so like how did you navigate that?
So I'm gonna say a lot of the season was feeling my way around, navigating it. I also had counsel. So one of the things that I learned really on from my godmother, who's very wise, was that all the things that you're facing at work, because I was experiencing warfare at work, which was pruning me, right? And what it was, they was wrong, they were bullies. Like, I want to be very clear. They were adult bullies in their 40s, 50s, 60s. At the time, I was only in my 20s. They were adult bullies, but the Lord was showing me how I can't fight everything, that I have to come to him with something. So there was moments where, like, I would want to erupt at work. I would want to cry, and my godmom would be like, you don't give them any of that. You bring that home. You have a safe place here where you can unravel, where you can erupt, where you can say all the things, get all the things out. But that version of you, they don't even, like, they should never have access to that. So that was helpful. But I also knew in that season that others could not save me. And what I mean by that is, in that wilderness season, it wasn't just about my character, right? It wasn't just about people questioning my character. It wasn't about, my employer trying to diminish me. If nothing else, what I learned in that season was that my life was actually supposed to be more than it was even then, because of how they were treating me. And they would say things to me that alluded to um a future that I had not seen yet. But like, it almost made me say, oh, okay, God, I want to see this. And when I say that, they would say things like, I've never rested. Once I got out of grad school, I did not rest on what I call my laurels and my degrees. I knew I had them, but the Lord made it very clear to me, these are just degrees. Without me, they're nothing. And so oftentimes the only reason you would know would be because of my resume, right? But like, I didn't go around saying I have two masters or I have a back. Like, I never went around saying it, because the Lord made it very clear to me that this was his doing, and it wouldn't, without him, it amounts to nothing. But they would throw things. They'd be like, "Well, you went to grad school. You got two masters. Like, how do you not know this? Like, people who do this, like, you should know more. You should da 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 da." And I was like, "But there's
Wow.
life and there's experience, right?" And it was then that it alluded to me, and I said, "Oh, they have a greater expectation of me because of this." But I still have to live life and I still have to have experience. And I began to recognize that there was something in me that triggered these responses. And then by me being me, and I was like, Lord, there has to be more to my life than this. So there was that part of pruning character. And then there was the financial piece, because I took a year off after undergrad, worked for a year, then stopped working and went to grad school. So I went from, we're gonna say, making $40,000 in a year to losing 40,000, for the next 2 years. And then coming out of that, and my first job back in the workforce, I did not make $40,000. I just knew that I would make the cost of these two other
Mhm.
degrees, and I did not. And so I had committed to the Lord to continue to serve on a worship team back home, which was 2.5 hours from Jacksonville, because that pastor was a friend of my pastor and was building his ministry. And I would make the commute back home. Well, I ain't got that much money no more. Gas costs. I'm now paying rent with a little bit of money. I was making less than teacher salary. But when I tell you the
Oh,
Lord sustained me, like, if ever there was a moment where I felt like Elijah, like the Lord was bringing the food to me and showing me that what I was used to wouldn't be anymore, but I never went without. There would be times people would invite me to dinner. And I'd be like, Lord, I shouldn't go. My account say I got $15. And I would look on the menu and I said, with these $15, this is what I can get. And
yeah.
knowing that I'm not going to be paid for a while, right? And then the person would be like, oh, yeah, I'm covering the tab. Like, and I would be like, oh my God. So like, my
Mhm.
social life looked different, right? I said no to a lot of things. I couldn't do a lot of things. But the Lord, like, it was always like I had this unction when I knew it was Him telling me, go do a thing. So, and those are just two areas of pruning, right? And two areas of what my wilderness looked like. And I can tell you what it didn't look like is, because when you do say wilderness, a lot of people think too, it mean you look broke, like you homeless, and it don't mean any of that.
Come on.
Like, it does, you don't have to look, and so many people have said, oh, I didn't know you were in a wilderness in that time, it didn't look like it. And I'm like, yeah, if you looking, you'll never see it. Like, he don't call me to look
Exactly.
battered and tore down. Like, I still have to go to work. I still have to show up in society. Like, I still have to serve in the church. Like, I still have to do all. No, I wasn't homeless and I wasn't battered, broken, without
Yes.
clothes. I just couldn't move and do a lot of things that people were able to move and do.
I hope y'all taking notes because one, you said a lot just about like you literally had to like move and flow and go with God. But even down to you saying like what's that church saying? Not I don't like what I've been through. That's literally like that last part because it's along with like when people hear wilderness doom and gloom, it's like you said, you don't have to look like what you may be enduring in a season. Like it does not mean you have to look. God don't want us out here looking run down in these streets
Yeah.
at all. Like, and I think the look of not the look like the there's so much defeat going on in the body of Christ, and it's not just internal, but like a lot of us we be looking like it. Like you don't even have to ask and be like, "Are you good?" Countenance and be like, "It's like right here." So I love that you even talked about like concerning the wilderness season that were in that you didn't look like it.
Because I don't believe the Israelites looked like they were in a wilderness, right? Their
Mhm.
experience said one thing, but they didn't lack or go without. God had specific instructions for them. He provided for them. And I think that we misinterpret the wilderness as a bad thing, like we should not have that. But then how does he refine? How does he prune? How does he cut away the parts of you that won't serve him going forward if you don't have that? Are you willing to lay down for him to do surgery? You're not gonna want that either, you know. But that happens too, right? Like, but
Right.
it's I think it's positioned and framed as a way as a tough and a hard season. And it is tough and hard because it requires us to deny ourselves. It requires
Yeah.
us to be in full surrender to him. It requires us to trust him, right? And I think my first wilderness season, if I compared it to wilderness seasons after that, it was this big, right? Because I think every time you're growing and being stretched to a new place, you re-enter a wilderness. It just looks different, right? So in that season, my lack, right, financially and socially and these things, I didn't have my family there. I was the only one from my family that was in Jacksonville, right? So that was a part of wilderness, stretching me to know that I can survive with just Christ and nothing else. I can't have access. I can call you, but you're not able to answer. I can't come to your house. It's 3 hours away, 2.5 hours away, so that's what it looked like. But then my next wilderness season after that looked like me growing or being stretched aside from my friends, right? There being a divine separation, not to break up or disunify, but so that I can grow over here in the areas where he wanted me to go. So I think every wilderness pulls on something different, but I think we should see it as opportunity to trust him in these other areas, because he don't call us to trust in every area at once. That's his
Right.
ultimate desire. But like he grows you to that place where you're surrendering that.
I hope y'all got y'all notebooks, notepads, notes app, because one thing Abhyona gonna do, baby, is drop nuggets. Okay, praise God. And even like when you talked about how through all of this, like it was literally me and Jesus. Like my only option, and I don't even want to say option. My yeah, my only option was literally God. It's either God or it's either God. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing too, a lot sometimes in these seasons, God literally will strip away those that are close and dear to us, because he's like our focus sometimes has been distorted because we're used to having proximity in
Hmm.
reference to certain things and people. I had to learn that.
And it's tough, right? Because like you're created for a community. And
Yes.
it's not necessarily lack of community or an absence. It's just a pulling away for a season so I can work these things out. Because community is going to sometimes comfort you in a way and maybe coddle
Yeah.
you in a way. And not the negative sense of coddling, but like they're
Right.
gonna support, they're gonna bear under, they're also gonna push you forward, but it's not always in the same way or with the same urgency that God has when he knows that there's a thing he wants me to execute. And he's like, no, 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 I have to separate this because I need this to go a little quicker than it would go in
Yeah.
community here. And I'll bring you back to community. You're gonna have that again, maybe,
Yep.
or you might get a new community. But I want this thing worked out, and I can't let you do it here, because also too sometimes here it can read as messy. It can read as, you must have did something for all this to be happening, and then you get into the Job's friends territory and you like, hold on, wait, I ain't did nothing wrong. This is just the Lord, trying to grow
Right.
me up for the next thing. So I think it's
Yeah.
pretty dope how God does it. But I can say that after, having gone through this some years, like for the new person, you might be like, child, I hear what she's saying, but I'm not hearing it at the same time because, man, what are you talking about? And I feel
Yeah.
you too. Like if you are that person, I feel you too. So,
No, that's real. That is so real. Woo,
whew,
Jesus.
yeah, that needs a deep breath.
Right. I literally was like, hold on. I literally was like, hold on.
Yeah, because that's heavy for people though. Like, and I know I talked about this on my stories, and sorry if I'm going left, but I
You
can
ain't
see that
going
being
back?
Okay.
We growing.
Okay. I can see that being so heavy for people because when we're in the world, it feels better and it feels good because we don't know the conditions. We don't know what we're lacking, right? And the purpose of us presenting Christ to people is for salvation. And you know that salvation is a good thing. But somehow we have this distorted view that when we leave the world's agreement and we come into Christ's agreement, that we don't experience anything, that there isn't healing, that, like we see the tangible healing of things, but the internal
Yeah.
healing, like we don't, it's like we just think everything's like peaches, cream, happy go lucky.
Yes.
Like there will be no trials or tribulations. And I think we do a great job of getting people to salvation, but also I think sometimes we miss sharing the fine print with them. And the thing I love about salvation is every promise is made clear to you. Everything you'll face is made clear. Now, sometimes if you're a new believer, you haven't read that far yet. But the Bible does say in this life you will have trouble, right? And so sometimes I think that when we think we give our lives to Christ, that there is no trouble, there is no pain, there is none of these experiences. But then where
Right.
does your testimony come from? But in the world, you don't realize you are experiencing the same thing. It's just that the enemy didn't give you the and conditions of his contract. And so life feels good because nothing is being required of you. Life feels good. He's not bothering you as you might make $150,000 a year and think you're doing something. And you're sitting there, you're like, oh, life is cush is good. Why would I? And you have no idea that God may actually desire more. And I'm just using money because that's always an easy reference for people, right? But it could be acres of land that he wants you to pass down or build a farm on, right? To sustain your family for a generation, for a famine to come, right? He might call you to be a modern day Joseph. You just never know. But I think that is the challenge. So when I say I feel the person who's probably new to salvation, experienced in the wilderness for the first time, like, what did I even sign up for? Why would anyone want to do
Yeah.
this? Well, the same was happening to you on the other side. You just had no awareness of the conditions of the contract or the agreement, because the enemy's goal is to make us feel comfortable. We are
Yeah.
cultured and conditioned for comfort in the world. And as long as he keeps you there and you're comfortable, you will live your life in that way and you'll miss everything else that's promised to you.
Everything. And the enemy's not gonna mess with anybody who is seeking after the heart of God. When the enemy already has a hold of somebody, the enemy is like, okay, whatever. But those who are literally picking up their cross and following God, oh, we are a threat to hell.
Yes. He
Like,
like, oh, she moving her feet. Hold on, let me stop her. Like she's moving. Hold on, wait. I gotta hold on, wait. Like he like,
right,
well, I gotta throw everything at her because she's
right,
moving. Yeah.
moving. It's giving Speedy Gonzalez, baby. We
Mhm.
Roadrunner, moving fast, very swiftly. This is maybe at this point we could stay right here because this right here is good by itself, because I do feel like somebody is going to watch this and they're going to think like, well, I'm in the world, so I mean, what's the difference? No, there's a major difference, because I mean, not trying to be, too blunt, but sometimes the enemy is tearing some of y'all behinds up real bad out there, and y'all trying to figure out, well, what is going on. The enemy and your will,
Mhm.
in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say too, like on that point you just made about the enemy tearing you up. The difference between the person in the world sometimes and the person who has given their life to him when it comes to this is peace. You both can be
Um,
experiencing the same thing and there's a different piece. And here's what I mean by that. In that wilderness season as well, the enemy did attack me through multiple ways, right? Because of this being new for me, right? I had given my life to Christ back in, or rededicated it back in 2012, but my wilderness started in 2014. So now it's probably like 2016, and relationally began to attack me. So an old situation came up. He's in prison, and I start communicating with him. And I said, well, I'll go visit him in the prison in North Florida. So it was even like another 3 hours from where I was. And I'll never forget, I had this unction that I should not go, that this was not the Lord's will. But I went anyway. And on my way back, a semi's tire peels and blows out my front passenger tire. Like it peels off, bloop, blows it out. The car behind me sees it. It's a man and his family of four. I pull over because it just like literally my tire blows. I pull over. He pulls over behind me. He says, "Are you okay? We literally watched this happen." And he was like, "I'm so grateful you're okay." I knew that was God because it could have flown up, cracked my windshield. It could have been way worse. He not only changes my tire for me and puts my spare on, no, I think I had a full size. No, I had a spare. He puts the spare on. I still have an hour and a half drive to make it back on a spare tire on the highway. I am driving and I have a peace about this. And I'd be like, and I'm now like, Lord, I'm so sorry. I should not have gone. I know you're allowing this to happen because I was in rebellion, like I was in sin. But now I'm going and the spare now flats out because the spare is not meant to be driven on that long.
Right.
I'm 45 minutes from my apartment at this point. So now I call AAA to tow me the rest of the way. Now I knew I shouldn't have been doing this because nobody at all knew that I was entertaining this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it was nobody but the Lord. And so the next day, I go to get a tire. Everything I need, the cost is all in my account. Mind you, now my finances are already looking crazy, but everything I need is in my account, right? In the world's way, you go through all of this, you don't have the means, you struggle, you strive, right? I was still in the wrong. I was still in sin. The Lord told me I should not do this, and I still did it. But yet I had peace when I shouldn't have. And I rested in the knowing that I would make it home and be fine. Right. I had this. And so like, that's one of the differences, right? Is that you're comfortable. And yes, this thing may happen to you. It sends you in a whole tailspin in another way. You don't know because you don't know the conditions of your agreement. The conditions are that you experience these things. You have no backup. You have no one looking out for you with your best interest, right? But I did. And I was very much like the Israelites, right? Don't bow to their gods. Don't entertain them. Don't take for them. Don't do these things. And they did it. But then when they repented and cried out, the Lord was there. And so it was for me in that time. I knew I had done what he told me not to do. And I still went anyway. My curiosity, like, well, maybe this is one thing I can hold on to because the season was stripping. Everything felt different,
Mm-hmm.
gone. And I'm like, well, relationally, like this old thing pop up. And it was
Right.
like
We just test
yeah,
the water a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. And then I think maybe a month or so later, he was trying to pressure me to marry him, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, baby, if it's one way you want me to respond, pressure me, because I don't like for nobody to pressure me to do. And I was, oh, sir, I'm not doing that. You cannot pressure me to do that. And I
Uh-huh.
exited that thing and moved. I'm talking about that's the quickest way to to get me to move his. And I believe even that was the Lord, right? Because he was like,
Yeah.
oh, like, I want to marry you. And I was like, but wow, like, we just started. It might have been 2 months. And I'm like, why? And I might have been in sin for doing what the Lord said. Baby, I ain't that crazy. Like, I understand the conditions of my father, and I'm going to go with him every time. It might take me a moment, but I'm going to go with him. And that's what I did. And I
Wow.
ended that thing and moved on. So I just wanted to give an example of how the conditions can look different because God's promised to me, and sorry, I said that and I didn't say this. God promises protection and provision to us.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things when you're living for him and you're living in agreement. Now, granted, I just told you I was in sin. I was disobedient. I did what he told me not to do, but there was still
Yeah.
protection and provision, which is why I could have peace and I had everything I needed. And I repented and I said, I'm not turning back that way.
Ooh.
All in the wilderness. It was a
All in the
mess,
wilderness.
child. Yeah.
But you made it.
Yes.
And two, like, there were so many nuggets that you dropped. Oh my God. But even the very last part when you talked about repentance and how you also said in repentance you did not turn back. Y'all, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Once we repent, we should not come back around and spin the block. But consider that block burnt up, annihilated, shrunken, all the above. Like, we do not need to go back. And I think sometimes that's also, no, not I think, I know that's also why the enemy be having to feel it, because sometimes we do revert back because, like you said, it's the comfort of it. Like, it was a place where, like you said, we could be coddled and I'm gonna say pseudo nurtured,
Hmm.
to where we feel like pseudo safe at the same time. But then
Hmm.
I've noticed sometimes that in those moments when we, if we did go back, it'd be like 50,000 times worse. I
Hmm.
think you've been tore up by the enemy that first time. No, baby. Mm-mm. Baby boy,
Yeah.
baby girl.
Yeah. And
You
you have
have
to fight harder and lean harder into God to say, okay, God, I really need you to help me because I can't go back. Like, I recognize I did go back, I did do this thing, and now there's I believe it often turns into a stronghold in your mind because now
yeah,
you're waging war against these thoughts that come up against what was, and your mind is now conditioned to doing what it wants to do, and you're trying to correct it with the help of Holy Spirit, and so then it causes you to fight to overcome that, and now it's
yeah.
intensified, it's strengthened, it has more memory, it has more recall. And you're like, hold on, let's undo this. We got to undo that and plant what he said there.
Literally what he said. At this point, will there be one? Like, come on up to this altar. Like, we'll like, let's go ahead and just grab the oil, everything, because at this point, we done had a whole. This was the sermon. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know to ask any other questions, because
Yeah.
I feel like this is literally where a lot of believers get stumped at, because of the wilderness, and they want to come out, but it's still like have like the know-how kind of part that gets them like just stuck. And it's like God has so much more for us, but it's literally just getting over
Hmm.
that I guess that hump, that season, like, to be able to testify about it, like literally how you got through it. And
Yeah.
I just hope that a lot of people can, yeah,
And I think they will when it's reframed. One of my pastors said something that was so good about time and how
mm,
time is a tool, right? And so sometimes when we are not aware that the wilderness is only for a time and it is a tool,
yeah,
and what do you do with tools? Tools build, tools design, tools, aid you. Tools are a resource. And I didn't have this language then when I was going through it. But the one thing I did know was that there was a promise, right? That the Lord made me.
yeah,
And the promise going in, and I had to remind myself, was that this was not forever. This was just a stop, that he told me when I went into the wilderness that you won't lodge here, you're just stopping here. And then
yeah,
I eventually began to realize the longer I fight against this, the longer I go to God and tell him how I hate what I'm experiencing, how I hate these things, and I have real reason to be upset, right? Like, literally, when I went to Jacksonville, there was a housing shortage. I want to give people to like the real, there was a housing shortage. I lived with a family friend who lived an hour and a half from where I had to go to work until I could move in. And I had to start work in April, but I did not have housing till June. And so every day I'm driving an hour and a half one way. So that's 3 hours round trip. That happened. They messed up my health benefits. I noticed on my pay stubs that my medical benefits weren't being taken out. And I called it out to HR twice. She was like, oh no, it's there. You're just not seeing it. I'm like, I don't see it. Like, when I do the math, I should have this amount in my
right.
check. I don't. July comes, and that's when they tell. So now June, I just finally get housing. July comes, and you tell me you're going to garnish my wages because y'all hadn't been taking out medical benefits since I started in April biweekly. But I told you about it, and I said, "Well, I haven't been to the doctor. Can we just start over now?" Oh, no, no, no. And I was like, "What do you mean?" Well, I complained on her. She got fired 2 weeks later. And because you don't get to play with God's daughter, and like, and I think that was the Lord. I didn't ask for her to be fired.
No,
I just asked for somebody to hold it accountable. And I'm like, because I did my part, right? So those are only
did
two things. I just started work at the end of April, and two things already happened. After the Lord tells me this is just a stop, I want get me out of here. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
expeditiously.
yes, and but I had to realize it was all building character. And so now when I'm approaching year 5, it's like the light bulb went off and I was like, the longer I fight this, the longer I stay here. Looks like the Israelites, right? They didn't even get to see the promised land because of their basically fighting against agreeing with God. And so in that season, I was like, Abhyona, he promised you that you weren't staying here. This is just
Yeah.
a stop. Let's surrender and yield to it, right? And it felt like things intensified even more. So I initially was in pro sports when I went to Jacksonville. Then I moved to beauty, and beauty is where I met the adult bullies. And and then it just like things intensified, and I'm like, God, this doesn't look like the direction where you're calling me to go. But okay, year 6 comes, and now I'm actually willing to stay with the company. I said, you know what? I want to grow here. Let me apply for this other role. This other opportunity is exciting me. And I was like, who am I? This can't be right. Now the Lord says, oh, prepare to leave. Huh? I'm like, huh? Like, I'm
The
finally
saga continue,
surrendering.
Jesus.
Yes. I'm finally done surrender. And I'm like, okay, like I'm content now. The complaining has ended. I'm reminding myself when I encounter things, he promised that this isn't forever, all the things. And
Yes.
so I say that to encourage the one who might be in that
Yeah.
space or who is new when you do encounter this. He makes you a promise. And even if he doesn't tell you up front, like he told me, the Bible is still true. He made you a promise that this is to get you to a promised place. And you're going to continue to see that. His ultimate goal is for all of us to experience his promises.
All of us. Ooh, I need to take another deep breath, baby. Woo, Jesus, my God from Zion. Jesus. I- It was even, geesh, Abiana. I don't even know what next question. Let me go back to my question. I at this point bump these questions, baby. Yeah. So, oh gosh, like I heard, like you mentioned a couple times about contracts and agreements, and if you could talk a little bit more, um, for someone who's watching, they're like, okay, contracts, like with God, agreements, like what does that mean? Like, could you like explain a little bit more, like what does that mean in reference to those two things?
Yeah. So and I'm gonna talk about this in real practical terms. So, if any of you are renting an apartment or you just bought your first car, you have an agreement with them
Mhm.
that you're gonna live there for X amount of months. You're gonna pay this amount. And in the agreement, it also says if you want to exit this agreement, you have to give them, we're gonna stay with the apartment. You got to give them 60 days notice before your lease ends. If you want to break it before then, most of them have two options. You pay until the rent, until they get a new tenant, or you just pay $2,500. You're out, you go on about
Yep.
your life. And so normal agreements with God look like your apartment lease. He says, you do this, A, B, C, D happens, you do this, E, F happens.
Mm-hmm.
And what that looks like in Deuteronomy 8 and I want to say Deuteronomy 28. I'm mixing them up. I know it's in Deuteronomy 8. I'm trying to remember the second area. But in the book of Deuteronomy, the Lord shares specific instructions, and he says, if you live this way, if you honor me, if you put no other gods before me, you won't lack. He basically says your animals won't lack, your land won't lack, your family won't lack, you'll multiply. And God is a multiplier. His
Yep.
math is always multiplication. He doesn't just do
Yep.
one, he exceeds anything you can imagine. But then he also tells you in the agreement, if you do these things, here's what you'll experience. The land will be barren. It won't produce fruit. It won't produce crop. You won't have anything. It's going to be dry. You won't experience ABC. The women won't be able to bear children, right? He makes it very clear for you. And so anytime you are engaging in anything, you want to know what you are agreeing with. And so for
Mhm.
me, because I knew that the Lord had told me that this was just a stop, I needed to come into agreement with him with whatever he intended to happen during that time. Now, I did not have full awareness. Now I'm talking about that place, outside of that place. I can look
Mhm.
back. But when I was
Yeah.
walking in that place, I didn't have the full revelation. I had some revelation of things, but I didn't have the full revelation. And probably at year 4 was when I had a revelation of my year 1 and 2, a little bit of it, because I'm
Yeah.
still growing with God. But I had to understand that the agreement that I made with him, which was, God, I agree to live like you called me to live, still had to
Mhm.
be true, regardless of my finances, regardless of the relational matters, regardless of anything else I would face, which meant that, Abhyona, if you can be in church on Wednesdays and Sundays, and I was
Mhm.
attending a great church, shout out to Hopewell Church, Bible teaching, church, honors the Lord. It was like, you need to do those things. You've got, and it wasn't about checking a box to say I was present. It was
Mhm.
about me honoring and saying, God, I'm going to commit this to you because I don't know my life. I don't know all the things I'm facing. And I'm facing a lot. I don't understand it. But at least let me agree that I'm going to serve you by doing this.
Mhm.
And so that is your form of an agreement. And then a covenant is similar in that the Lord covenants himself to us. He keeps his
Yeah.
covenants with us, right? There are some things he promises that are unconditional. No matter what you do, he's going to do that. And other times it's based on a condition.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about the other side of that, you don't know the terms of the agreement with the enemy when you're living outside of God. You don't know. The Lord makes it all clear. I just told you in Deuteronomy. You can go look at it and see. You don't know the agreement that the enemy is making with you when you're not walking with God. You're subject to whatever he wants to do. And sometimes people make agreements with the enemy that, it may promise you X, right? You go over here to a witch doctor, whoever, to have a child, you pay them for the child, you get
Right.
the child, but you don't always know the other side of that, which is you have a child, but now the 3, 4, 5 generations behind you can't have children, but you
Right.
got what you wanted, but they don't always tell you that up front. And it's not until someone in the bloodline begins to seek the Lord and the Lord reveals it, and then they go back and they destroy that agreement and say, no, God, we're going to agree with you. We're not going to bow to anyone else or anything
Yeah.
else. Sorry, that was a
Boom.
long way to answer your question.
No, that was a great way to answer your question. And how you broke it down is so necessary because too, like with church, these, if truth be told, these are not things that the church really talks about. If truth be told, like not, and I don't, and let me put a disclaimer: not all churches, because woo, I don't want to get in trouble on my own podcast. Not all churches, but there's a lot that they don't get. They don't talk about bloodline. They don't talk about witchcraft. They don't talk about deliverance. So these are, and but these are the root of things to set us free. Like, because I'm gonna say, talking about wealth and prosperity, that's great,
Easy.
but that's right. It's so easy, but it's like, okay, but if there is some form of resistance in the bloodline or in your life, got to get to the root of it. And it's not just, God, I'm gonna just pray about it. No, was there generations before you that didn't manage money well? Is there, like you said, is there some form of witchcraft or a covenant that was made? Like, it's so many different things. So to just say God's gonna bless you with $1 million and acres of land, and you got your hands lifted like this, okay, but the work behind it, you're not just gonna get it tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And
this,
and then too, the thing is, I've learned that a lot of times people make these other agreements outside of God because You want what God promises, but you want to get it
Yeah.
faster. And it's you trying to control your own outcome. And you're like, oh, well, if I do this, they promise to get it faster. But you don't know the other side. They don't give you the fine print. And so it's just better for you to go with God and his agreement, because what he said he's going to give you, it may require some things from you, but it's going to happen.
It's gonna happen. And it actually lasts. The enemy, that's
Hmm.
only temporal.
Yeah,
With the
literally.
Lord, it's everlasting. Like it doesn't, his love does not run out.
And he doesn't
Not
just do one thing. He
nope.
does not just do one thing, right? We overlook the fact that, like, I desire marriage, right? And I want marriage. But the Lord has promised me so much more, right? My health, as I've journeyed with him, I've seen a significant turnaround in my health. Like, if I pulled my medical records from
Um,
2020 and pulled them today, you'll be like, there's no way we talking about the same person. Like a divine turnaround. I never prayed to God about my health. I never asked him about my health for real, right? I wanted him to heal relationships. I wanted him to, show up for me in seasons where it felt like I was alone, right? I wanted him to get me to a place where I felt like I could live and sustain. Like, and I'm not just talking about the money, but like I wanted to have peace in my dwelling and things like that. So it
yeah.
wasn't even like but I didn't ask him about my health. I didn't necessarily always ask him about having peace, and not just peace at home, but like peace in decisions, peace in relationships, peace in friendships, peace at work, peace when I'm gonna go. Like I didn't ask, so it's some things that like you don't even know to ask for or think to ask for, and that comes with him.
Uh, whew. Things that you didn't ask for, not even knowing that that comes with him. Okay. All right. Yo, come to Christ if you ain't in Christ. Just come today. Come, 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 come. Please come. Like that's still running through my mind. Like that
Hmm.
things that you didn't even ask for literally comes with Christ.
Hmm. Even down to, I kid you not, every time like if there was something with my car that would come up, or a sudden thing on my home I had to pay for. And I'm gonna take my home out of it because that's newer. We're gonna go back. My car, my apartment, just a sudden medical matter that may have come up, right? You gotta go to urgent care and pay whatever. It was like God knew and he would provide already for it. Where it came from, Jairus, I do not know, but it would be there. I didn't ask him for that. Like no part of me ever said, God, protect me even on the days when I don't know when something gonna come up and I'm gonna need it in my account. Like that's not a prayer point. Like I'm asking for things right now that I know, like, and not to say that people don't pray that, right? Like we do
Yeah,
pray for, danger seen and unseen, but I don't necessarily pray that about the future. Like
right.
I'm not sitting in my present and saying, oh, okay, there might be a day that, my AC stopped working and I'm gonna pray about it. Like I don't have that thought.
Yeah, no.
But his promises are protection and provision as well. And so on the day when the protection was it happened in the winter and not the summer. The provision was they have a special right now, and what you need is in your account. And when you show up here about your car, these people are going to show favor to you and say, you know what, you're so kind, we're going to take another this off. I'm going to give you the employee rate. And then my account has exactly what I need to pay for that. And I'm not necessarily going without. I might have to live different until that next payday, right? Which means I might not be hitting up, Krispy Kreme for the donuts, because I used to hit Krispy Kreme. It was next to my apartment. I can't hit Krispy Kreme for these donuts. You need to eat the food that's at home.
Woo!
But like those are the types of things. Like I would not have known to pray for that or to ever ask for that.
Yeah.
But he knew, and so when I say like those things, like he deals with all of those things. I didn't know that I'm praying about relationships, whatever, that it directly impacted my health. And so now those are healed and I'm healed. I wasn't praying to him about my health and my hormones being in balance and my blood pressure being high and all these things. You know, like in church you hear that, right? We praying against this, but like I was not praying for that.
Yeah.
And it was when he fulfilled his promises because I was living right and I desired for this thing to happen that then I said, oh, I didn't realize all this was correlated. This why I'm 30 pounds lighter because I forgave you. I want a healing with you. I'm now at peace. My blood pressure, I don't have no blood pressure issues no more because not like I wouldn't have known to pray for that.
Ooh. Woman of God. I feel stirred. Like this is, this is so good.
It's
Oh,
all God. I don't even know why I'm smiling because it was very real. But I think I get excited because the more you know, like I pray that this gives someone hope to hold on. I pray it gives them hope to go read Deuteronomy 8 and Deuteronomy 28. I looked it up, make sure I was giving it the right. To see all the promises he made so that even if you didn't hear something specific from him, he's gonna do that plus more.
whew. Yetamande kushitamande yedede kushitama. Oh God. Oh, I could take off and run.
Yeah.
Abbyona. Whoo. I don't, I got no more questions. Did,
But this is what I was building, right? That I didn't know at that time, which is why I could not give up.
it was all literally for now. Oh my God.
Yeah. And so that should even encourage people that sometimes you don't know what you're building when you're in a certain season. But I can promise you, you're building character, you're building tenacity, you're building endurance, you're building capacity, you're building faith. Like you are building something if you're with the Lord, and He is going to use it. And so, even a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll be able to look back and share similar things with other people because He is always building something in us if we are walking with Him. And you have to trust that what you are experiencing is for His building if you're not in intentional sin.
That's the stipulation. Whew. And all it takes is a willing heart, willing
Hmm.
vessel. Like literally like a God, I surrender. Like I give you a yes, but this time around with my whole heart, like everything in me. And
Hmm.
then y'all with it, then y'all will be able to testify. Like Abhyona is in this moment. This blessed me. I'm just stirred. I'm just so full. Just I just feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Like I just okay.
He's faithful.
He is faithful. My
He's
God.
faithful. I just
Yep,
pray
I'm
people
out of
don't
here.
forsake the season, right? I pray they don't forsake what others can't see. Because I still
Mm,
think back to your question too about like what I was building that people didn't see. I wouldn't have wanted him to build me publicly in that way. It was
that's
already raw
cool.
and real privately, like when people don't have an awareness of who I am.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have wanted him to do that publicly at all.
At all. Jesus. Because publicly that could have been like more distractions.
An entire mess.
Yeah. Ooh. But God did it in the secret place.
Hmm.
Literally in the secret place.
Yeah. So the hiddenness is a good thing. It doesn't feel good. And I can say this now, right? Because again,
Yeah.
now I'm speaking from today, looking back, what, 10 or so years ago, But baby, let him do that in the secret place, in the hidden place, in the quiet place.
Let him,
Yeah.
like, like, literally let, like, break down those walls.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Jesus, that's so good. Well, since we since we on a roll here, let's see. Where can the people find you on social media, and do you have any upcoming events? Oh, Dunamis night. Just go ahead. Floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yes, so for ministry, the Lord has called me into that, y'all. So we've been leaning hard and building
Yes.
that. And you can find me on all social platforms at Abhyona Grant, my first and last name. And then on YouTube, it's with an underscore. And so the only platforms ministry that I'm using are Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So engage with me there. At this time, I don't have my next event yet because we're going with God as He leads us with what to do next, the date, the timing. But I'm excited, and you're more than welcome to engage in whatever means that you so choose. But I appreciate you greatly, and I've appreciated this conversation and pray that it's really helped someone.
I appreciate you. I mean, I know this was for the people. I mean, I got to rewatch this for myself because I'm soaking it all in. Like, because it's still a lot to learn on this journey, but being a lot further than you were, that is an amen unto the
Yes.
Lord for sure. Whoo, Aviana, thank you so much. And do you have any like other last words of encouragement to anybody or anything that you feel in your spirit that you want to say? Or
I would say go back to the promise. Go back to the promise. And I'm big on marking moments. And so if you're
mm-hmm.
watching this and this struck you in some way, I want you to mark the moment today by writing on a sheet of paper, typing it in your notes app, whatever your preferred method is. Mark where you are today. What are you experiencing? What are you facing, positive or negative or both? What did you hear from this conversation today that you can carry with you? And then set a calendar reminder 3 months from now, 6 months, 9 months, a year from now to look back. Because I think sometimes we think God is absent or not with us because we're looking at everyone else and what he's doing and missing the fact that there have been marked moments in our own lives and
Yeah,
markers that we can say, oh, God did this. Oh, God did that. Oh, God did. And so when you don't have a marker, you don't have history, or your history
yeah.
lens on the last big thing you can remember, and you miss the fact that he's actually been doing things every month.
Y'all write that down. Write that down.
Yeah. And I
Write
got
that
that
down.
from the doctor actually. Because every time you go to the doctor, what do? They flip back through your charts.
They do. And we'll grab that pen and
Yeah.
mark something, check it off,
Hmm.
underline, highlight. Yes, I
Yes.
never. That's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah. And so I can go this month, I can go next month, I can go a year from now, and they're flipping back. And they're not just referencing 3 years ago, they referencing last
Yeah,
month, last week, 6 months. They're referencing all of that to look at your history to today.
yeah,
And then they're asking you questions about what's in your family, right? Not to diagnose you as having high blood pressure or anything, but to say, oh, you
yeah,
have the propensity that if you don't do certain things, you could have these things that
yeah.
are, family history, that there's a family history of. And you should do the same thing with God. In my family, I've seen people's successes look like A, B, C, D. That means you have history to say, oh, it's a likelihood that I'll have that too,
Mm.
if it's a positive.
Yeah,
And that's how you hold on to hope. So I would say mark this moment, set a reminder, maybe even
mark
go
it.
back and update it throughout your year, because you will see that the Lord actually has been with you and he's doing and he's moving, and it will help you not to turn to anyone or anything else but keep your eyes on him.
Literally. Woo! Baby. Woo! The Lord is kind. The Lord did his big one. I so appreciate you on so many levels. And I just thank you for taking out the time to do this. And people gonna be blessed because this is needed. It's necessary, vital, all the things. Whew. All right, y'all. It's been a good one. Thank you so much. I love you bunches, Abhyona. Whew. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. It's another episode. We made it. See y'all soon. Bye.